this is that, well, blogger really about all the boats I've had. This was my first boat, bought it up in Lancaster, and the first time I took it out, this was the first time. Unfortunately, the tiller snapped, and we had to make our own way back. So I moored it on my own mooring, and then a week later I got a phone call, and this is how I found her. She'd been cut loose, someone had cut right through the rope, it was fairly evident, and that was the last of my sailing career in this boat, my first boat, and that was how it ended up. But that's life, isn't it, you know. So what do I turn to next? The next boat I decided to buy was a Lysander, and I was very pleased with that. I had that up at Thurciston, and it was a cracking little boat. Again, taught me a lot of things. I learnt a lot of things on it. Got no instruction from anybody, just basically Andy's style, just get out there and do it. And the only thing was, it took you about 25 minutes to walk out to it. So you have to make sure you got the tide right, because you had to walk a long way round the sandbanks to get to it. And then usually by the time I'd get to it, the water would be up to my knees, and I'd managed to climb on and get sailing, and then, you know, wait for the water to go out. That was it there, sister. There it is in the field where it was left, and never to be seen again, but I hope somebody got some use out of it. But that was, you know, that was a boat that taught me a lot. So what did I go for next? Next I decided to get one that I could take with me where I went, rather than leave it out on beaches and that. So I bought this Sailfish 18, Lazy Days. Great little boat. Had a great time, took the kids up to the Lake District, put it on one of the lakes, and we set off on the motor. And next thing you know, we were floating. The propeller came off the motor, and so we had to get towed back in. Got it fixed, painted it, and took it up to the Llyn Peninsula. Didn't ever put it on the water but put all the canoes on, because that was my thing at the time. Used to be a canoeist. You can tell I like water sports, although the bike is a bit of a dry land thing. But I really enjoyed that boat, although very rarely used it. It was good to look at. So what was next? Well, I reverted back to canoeing, decided to give the boat a miss, and went back to canoeing, which was great and totally enjoyed it. And that was my first love, obviously. I did that for a long time at top level competition. But then all was brought to a sudden halt. Having been in a position where we were now in the top 10 in the country, and we did quite a few competitions up and down the country, and then up came the selections for the Olympics, and I thought, okay, you know, we can have a go at this. Unfortunately, didn't do much training for it, and that was the end of my career as a canoeist, really, because I dislocated my rib cage, not warming up at all, getting out on the water, and had a real serious incident, which took well over 6-7 months to get over, which meant obviously canoeing is finished. So then I had to start thinking about, okay, well, I need a boat now. And sailing I didn't like, but you know, what did I find? I went looking, and then finally found good old Tessa, Leisure 17, excellent boat. And this boat is where the story begins of my sailing career and all the adventures that went with it. For this, I'll read out my report that I was submitted, and won a prize for it at the club. This was Roy, Maggie, Chessa and 2 dogs we took on Little Chessa up on the Caledonia Canal, and this was a place we stayed at there, one of our first stops overnight on Loch Ness. A long-awaited ambition that finally came true. First, a few weeks of preparation like downloading the Caledonia Canal Guide, buying extra kit like METs for the heater, new batteries for the radio, wiring up a tri-navigation light, fitting a wind indicator and some excellent LED swivel remote controls. The trailer needed a good overhaul before leaving. 3 new tyres, new wheels, bearings on 3 of the hubs. I'll tell you more about the trailer later. The journey was leisurely, leaving about 16:30 on a Wednesday 27th of April, staying overnight at Annandale Services. The next morning we set off with the plan of being to arrive in Inverness for about 12 o'clock. Then the story of the trailer began. A few miles from our overnight stop we got a puncture. Fortunately, with services only a mile away, having no spare, so much for preparation, I took the wheel to the nearest garage in Abingdon, who could do little with the hub as it was knackered and they had no tubes. Not deterred, they fitted a 12-inch tube into a 10-inch wheel and on we went, arriving at Inverness at 16:55. Unable to find BWB officers, even with the GPS, I phoned and a kind lady, Elisa, said she would wait for us. When we got there, flustered and late, she would not give us a licence without insurance details of a craft including mast size. I suggested we come back tomorrow, allowing me time to figure out how to get what she wanted. 5 minutes after she left, I realised I could download the docs onto the iPad as I had insured my boat and they put it on their net for us. So this was it. We went to the nearby campsite for an overnight. Next morning, fully equipped, we were given our keys, a paper version of the route and our licence for 8 days, £74. Off we went to Cali Marina, where they offered to launch our boat with the skill and precision of Captain Mark, all for £10 and no charge to store the trailer as the yard was not full. Having packed the dogs and all their food and equipment on board, we finally set sail at 14:30, leaving most of our food behind. Another oops. As an Irishman once said to me, giving directions, if I was going there, I wouldn't be starting from here. And in this case, that was very true, as we faced a headwind all the way to Fort William. Fortunately, the 4-horsepower Suzuki motor that I had no problems with did a sterling job. The only thing I didn't touch, perhaps that's a lesson there. Shortly arriving at our first locks, Maggie feeling very nervous. Nerves were soon calmed by overwhelming, helpful lockkeepers. Everything they said about these guys is true. They make everything look easy and calm. The most traumatic occasions we made our first stop on the way down. Loch Ness at the Foyers. Trying up alongside the pier to give what were the old dogs and not sea dogs as well earned a well walk, as this was the first time they had experienced such a thing. Elvis, now 14, would never previously even walk on a pontoon, let alone get on a boat, and Chloe, the overactive collie, found jumping on and off the shore fun. The forecast for the whole trip was rain, showers and overcast with the odd sunny breaks. By evening it was getting cold, and although we managed a good tasty snack from what we had brought with the cool bag, plus the inevitable first glass of wine, we still needed recently purchased heater to do its job, and it did. The night was rough at first with strong winds, which calmed to a beautifully early morning sunrise. After a cup of tea, oat bars, dog walk and a look around the fires, that was a little to offer apart from the aluminium factory. We hoisted the sails as the wind was up and off we went. No sooner had we rounded the headland and hit the main lock than the boat was thrown from one side to another. Quickly reefing and locking the dogs below, we jibed and everything was thrown about, including myself, Maggie and the dogs. What dogs? They were the last thing on our mind as the wind came up from all directions. Sails down, motor on and back to the pontoon. Another long walk around the fires with still nothing more to see. Maggie, having her worst nightmare, almost came true. Two well-shaken dogs and completely stirred, not a new drink by the way. I convinced all that we could continue on the motor. It would still be rough, but at least we would be getting to our next stop, with the promise of food, showers and toilets before the weather gets really bad. All but Elvis accepted the offer. Unfortunately for him, he could be manhandled onto the boat and locked below again. We set off once more, this time under engine power. The scenery was stunning, even with the black clouds to the aft and the rolling mist and lots of spray off the bow. The day grew warmer and the wind subsided, with the sun taking off the many layers of cloud that hovered above us. Sails went up and progress was made. Not. Tacking forth and back again, the lock enjoying the same tacking point over and over again. I learned fast. On went the engine and finally towards 1900 we approached the end of the Loch Ness and Port Augustus, with restaurants, showers, supermarkets and lovely walks to cap the beautiful sunset. Everyone was happy, even Elvis. The morning greeted us with everything the weather forecast had promised. Warm sun, cool breeze and clear days that last the rest of the trip. Off we went again, my trusted crew, Maggie and the two dogs becoming more adept and confident as the weather improved. Negotiating the next 4 locks, we entered Loch Oich, which was a stunning loch. It was narrow channel compared to Loch Ness. Beautiful scenery on all sides. Unfortunately, it's the smallest loch and we crossed it quite quickly, pressing on to our next overnight stop when we arrived at Loch Lochy in time for tea. In the morning we set off again, negotiating locks down towards the sea, as we sat moored briefly for a picnic as we approached Fort William, with now snow-covered Ben Nevis. As we left the Loch Lochy, we paused to take the last look at the locks and take some dinner. The idea of dinner for us, but a native swan had other ideas. When I refused to supply all of the remaining breed, she decided she would eat the boat, doing more damage than any pontoon or lock wall to the rubbing strake. As the journey drew to an end, or so I thought, we moved to the top of Neptune's staircase, waiting for the journey down to the sea. We thought we had arrived late and for the last lock, but no. The bridge at the bottom was stuck and we would not be repaired till the morning. Leaving Maggie, Tessa and the dogs, I got off to Inverness by bus, which was only 1 3/4 hours journey. Returning back with the camper van and trailer, we then decided to sleep in the camper van overnight while waiting for the bridge to be repaired. Once the bridge was repaired, the next bit proved tricky, as I had to move the trailer vehicle and walk a mile back to Tessa. With the help of Maggie, other boaters and the lock people, we descended the Neptune staircase, all 8 locks. Then I took crew, camper van and the trailer to a private slipway across Loch Linney, or Linney as they say. This was owned by a small boat owners association who charged £20 membership for the year. I put the trailer into the place and had to walk a further 3 miles back to Tessa to find lock keepers on lunch. High tide was at 14:50, which I would have made had the lock keepers let me go. But he let the bigger boats go first. They had priority and more money, I suppose. So by the time I got to the trailer and the tide had turned, but no problem. With only an hour and a half spent in the water, up to my waist in splashing, very cold and now fast-moving sea, I managed to get the boat on the trailer, after which 2 very strong Scots joined me as we pulled the trailer up the slip. Quickly realising their strength was not enough, it was left to Maggie and me to get the boat in position where we could strap the ropes on and then get the camper van down to pull it back up the slip. Mast down, fully packed, in less than an hour, job done, and off for our final overnight stay away from home. I could talk again and again regarding the journey home, but in brief, remember the trailer I would tell you about? Some people take between 4 and 8 hours to travel from Scotland. Okay, we were towing a boat in a camper van, but 5 days, really? Passing through Glencoe, we realised that the boat had slipped backwards on the trailer. Then we literally lost the wheel. Nuts came off. Wheel was found across the road in the heather. That was all fixed by the roadside. Then in Dumbarton, we lost the wheel again. This time the bearings shot, which was also caused a puncture to the other wheels and wrecked the hub. Breakdown would only take us to the nearest garage in Helensburgh. Many shaking heads, choice language, disgusted looks. We were helpfully directed to a campsite for overnight. In the morning, 3 new tyres, 1 second-hand wheel, new bearings, 1 new stub axle and hubs, and £400 less. That afternoon, we were on our way, 50 miles covered, another flat tyre, pumped it up and arrived in Gretna Green. Services on 3 inflated tyres and 1 flat. We stayed the night and drove to Carlisle. The next morning, leaving the boat in the car park. Another bank holiday. We struggled to find anyone who could repair the flat. Finally, I found a garage that fitted a new tube but said it might not last as the wheel itself was rotten. He gave me a spare tube and suggested a new wheel if I could find one. I found a trailer shop and we purchased a centre-based wheel which would do in an absolute emergency. We made it all the way to Liverpool at 40 miles an hour, only to get a puncture just as we left the motorway. Changed wheel for a new, incompatible one and limped to get the other repaired at a garage. Arrived back at DSC, some 7 punctures, 6 wheel bearings, 3 new hubs, 1 stub axle and 4 new tyres, 1 new wheel, 2 second-hand wheels, hubs and £750 less. What a journey. The next boat in the series is the Sailfish 18. I bought this boat because I knew how easy it was to trailer sail, take to where I wanted. Having learned the lessons of the previous one, I thought this was a good buy. Went down to Swansea, picked it up, trekked the trailer over, and it was great. Got 500 yards out of the yard, and both bearings shattered. They were that old, although they worked well, they just couldn't take the load on the way home. So that was another lesson learned. If you're going on a long journey, replace bearings. The final boat in the series is my Hurley Alacrity 25 foot, 25.6 to be honest with you. Lovely boat, saw it in the yard, thought I must have that. This was up in Scotland, and the idea was to keep a boat in Scotland and sail in Scotland when I wanted to. Great idea, and the boat was a lovely boat, and the only problem was it had new sails, had so much gear, it was unbelievable. Headlining was obviously an issue, but you know, I sorted that out very quickly. But then the engine was a major issue as well, and had to do a lot of work. In fact, I had to rebuild the engine, and that cost me a lot of money because it was marine engine, and the people who got to do it charged me double the price they quoted once they found out it was a marine engine. So that's another lesson learned with all this issue over you pay more for a boat. Anyway, this was the boat that put the end to sailing as far as Maggie was concerned, and turned our attractions to a barge, more sedate. Beautiful place in Kipford, Scotland, Solway Yacht Club. Great place to sail, and this was my ideal. And we went sailing, well, we went out on it quite a few times, although the engine took about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to start. It wasn't the best of engines, as you can see from here. Some smoke that was gathered. But anyway, I got that repaired. And then we decided that in 1 year, the engine was that bad. Our first sail, we got stuck trying to go out because I couldn't get the engine going, and the tide left us high and dry, literally high and dry. Anyway, having got the engine fixed, we then decided that we would join a group and sail over to Whitehaven. This was a great opportunity for us, as we'd never sailed that far before, and it was only 16 miles, but it was a journey we were looking forward to. The forecast for the weekend was excellent. We had planned a lot. We'd done all our work on the boat. Everything was working fine. Engine was going well, and off we went. We followed quite a big group of monohulls out there, and then there were 4 boats who went over, and this is border lady who helped us a lot on the trip across. We got part way across, and then all of a sudden we had a nightmare of a day. The wind got up, everything started to blow. We couldn't get the sails down, they jammed. We couldn't get the roller reefer in, that jammed, and we were getting thrown all over the place. The waves got up, it was quite a hectic time. We had a real difficult time trying to control the boat, and Maggie froze. She got very frightened. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we decided to put the engine on, and which we did, and that was fine, and we headed over to Whitehaven, and just about got into Whitehaven as the tide was running out, but safely in the marina. We had a good night there, although Maggie did think about getting the train back home and me sailing the boat back alone. Having convinced Maggie that we would be all right sailing back, as the next day the forecast was even better, we decided to set off. We went to reverse out and we couldn't move. We were absolutely jammed solid. The gearbox had lever had jammed, and the cables had jammed, so we couldn't get that out. So Maggie had to come with us regardless, because I had to have somebody to help me to get out there. Fortunately, we managed with a lot of grips and pliers and extensions to rig some form of gear shift up, and we managed to get going. Once out in the open sea, we sailed back, and what a beautiful sail it was. Excellent day, and we really had a good day's sail. I loved it. It was one of the best sails I've had. Wind was fresh, but the seas were quite calm, and we sailed all the way back. It was an excellent day. And then we've got Border Legend right ahead of us, just crossing the wind farm. And then we've got Louise on our port water. Taking a different route, I think. Otherwise, everything's fine. On the way back, we were greeted by other boats from the sailing club who came out to see us, which was really nice and helped us get back in. The channel back into Kipford is quite a difficult channel to negotiate at the best of times, and obviously we were running out of tide, but they all came out and helped us get back. In the end, we were moored up, safe and sound, and that's when Maggie decided maybe sailing's not for her, and so the boat went up for sale, unfortunately. And the idea of having a boat in Scotland never came back. We're happy with the boat we've got now.